Please welcome AJC President Michael Tichnor.
Good evening, and welcome to AJC Global Forum. As demonstrated by the incredibly moving presentation that we just experienced, this is a global forum like no other. Like all of us, I stand here today with mixed emotions. The past 8 months have brought so much loss, anguish, pain, fear, and uncertainty. But at the same time, in the face of tremendous tragedy, anti-Israel hatred, and anti-Semitism, the Jewish people have remarkable resilience. Our pride in being Jewish has only grown, and our resolve as a community has strengthened. On the one hand, there are days in which we all feel like it is still October 7th, and it seems that we cannot go about our days without learning of another anti-Semitic or anti-Israel action, from college campuses to cities and towns throughout the country and across the globe. It's also deeply overwhelming. On the other hand, as you just heard from Rabbi Marins, and is worth repeating, there are days like yesterday when the entire Jewish people rejoiced and let out tears of joy and relief when, after 240 days in captivity, the IDF miraculously rescued Noah Argamani, Almog Mayajan, Andrei Kozlov, and Shlomi Ziv. The swing from dark lows to joyful triumphs has been the experience of global Jewry, both for the past 8 months and for more than 5,000 years. Knowing that we have always overcome darkness gives us the strength to keep going. Finding and preserving light when it seems almost impossible is the very essence of the Jewish people. We will continue to mourn all those who were murdered by Hamas terrorists and the soldiers who have since paid the ultimate price protecting the Israel people. Among them, Arnon Zamora, who led a part of the forces that rescued the 4 hostages yesterday, was critically wounded and ultimately passed away. We will not allow the world to forget them or why Israel is fighting this war of self-defense. We will continue to pray for the thousands who have been wounded, as well as those who have been internally displaced from their homes. And we will not rest until more than 100 members of our family still being held hostage are brought home. We are more energized and more committed than ever, and that is what has brought us here to AJC Global Forum. Through American Jewish Committee, the global Jewish advocacy organization for the Jewish people, we join together in the power center of government to demonstrate to the United States and the world that the global Jewish community and our allies are united and more determined than ever to stand up for the Jewish people and the state of Israel. I want to express a warm welcome and sincere gratitude to our Jewish communal partners and friends and allies from 50 countries who have traveled to be with us today. We at AJC are so proud to work with you to advance our mutual goals. Over the course of the next 2 days, we will examine the most pressing issues facing the Jewish people, advocating with diplomats, members of Congress, and thought leaders, engaging with fellow Jews and partners from around the world, and working to shape a new future for all of us. On a personal note, having become involved with AJC more than 20 years ago, I have to say that I have never been more proud to be part of this incredible organization. I want to thank our remarkable staff, from our regional offices around the country, to our overseas colleagues, to our support staff, and everyone in between. Each and every one of you has worked tirelessly to respond to this unprecedented moment. We are so grateful for your tireless efforts. I also want to give special acknowledgement to the AJC Jerusalem staff, led by Avital Lebovich, who, more than most of us, have faced extraordinary circumstances. AJC Jerusalem team, on behalf of everyone at AJC, thank you for rising to the occasion during this incredibly challenging time. Please join me in thanking them for their incredible and tremendous efforts. To begin our program, in a moment we will hear from Orna and Ronen Neutra, parents of Omer Neutra, one of the Israeli-American hostages still held captive in Gaza. Every day since October 7th and throughout this program, we carry every hostage with us. As you'll see in this ballroom, we have empty seats saved in the front as we await their return. There are empty seats to the left and to the right of the ballroom with yellow bands. Orna and Ronen, in your tireless efforts for Omer, please know that we all stand with you, always. We are deeply grateful that you are able to address us today. Before Orna and Ronen join us on stage, please turn your attention to the screens.
We had an opportunity to come to the United States, and little did we know that we're going to start a business. We're going to have our children born here.
We embarked on our journey with our new family, which is the Schechter family.
He was the captain of the soccer team, then he was the captain of the volleyball team, then a captain of the basketball team.
He started off at the Mid-Island YJCC, then he went 2 years in Sprout Lake, then USY Wheels, then JNF Roots in Israel, and then he was a staff at Ramon Nayak. He's a person that brings people together, and he does it out of the good of his heart. He went through the process of applying to colleges. He was accepted to a few places. He committed to going to Binghamton. We felt that it would be a good idea to take a gap year, and so he joined a program, it's called Mechina, for Israeli kids before they joined the army.
Slowly started to build some internal conflict. Am I going back to university or am I drafting?
And he made his decision.
You don't draft an army mainly because of a culture. You volunteer because you believe it's the right thing to do, and that's what he believes.
Every time he could, he called home, and he put a lot of effort into maintaining it.
He was stationed with his team on the Gaza border. There was a lot of activity generated by the Hamas on the fence. They were throwing all kind of small bombs. They've been in the tanks working 18 hours a day. The night of October 6th, he calls and he speaks with Orna.
Omer was fairly relaxed. He said that it had been quiet on the border.
I'm checking my phone just before going to sleep. I'm starting to read reports on ground attack. So immediately I'm like texting Omer, Omer, what's going on? Talk to me. Are you okay? But we never got an answer.
A few hours later, what I'm hearing from high command, most likely he was kidnapped by Hamas.
That's the last we know about Omer. We don't know his condition. We don't know if he was hurt.
No matter what your political opinion is, why is it so difficult to see that there's a humane crisis here? This is my child. He's an American citizen. He was born here. He grew up here. Bring Omer home. Bring all the hostages home now.
Please give a warm welcome to Orna and Ronen Neutra.
Our son Omer decided to leave his comfortable life behind, and after much deliberation to join the IDF and become a lone soldier, away from his family, away from his home. As a family, this move wasn't easy. Under regular circumstance, if we had lived in Israel, we'd be waiting for Omer when he came home every few weeks with his favorite meal, helping him with his dirty laundry, and supporting him through the difficult stages of training. But we were far, here in the United States most of the time, and he managed. He was very independent, most of the time minimizing his needs. He leaned on family and mainly on his community of friends. Newly founded relationships that he developed, which came to mean a lot to him in his new life in Israel. We spoke daily whenever he could. It was the highlight of our day. We made sure to travel and spend time in Israel with him when he was on breaks, and to bring him home to Long Island when he could get away.
I keep thinking to myself, how is Omer experiencing all of this? Everything that is happening? What has been going through? What he would be sharing with us if he could speak about the events of October 7 and every day since. Omer would say, in the early morning hours of October 7, just like any other morning, I gathered my team. We followed our morning routine. We jumped into the tanks and got ready for sunrise. This morning was very different. Suddenly, a barrage of missiles came flying through the skies, falling all over us. We began receiving messages that there was a possible breach of the border fence with Gaza. There was no time. I quickly started giving instructions. Our job was to protect the nearby kibbutzim. We rushed to the border with our 2 tanks and a small Golani infantry unit. Shortly after we reached the fence, we were ambushed by hundreds and hundreds of Hamas ISIS terrorists, well-trained, waiting for us, shooting our tank, multiple RPGs and explosives. My tank slowed down. We were experiencing a failure. The brakes were jammed, and we could only advance very slowly. An RPG hit us. Our driver, Shaked Dan, was injured gravely. Our tank was put on fire. I tried to communicate with head command and requested a rescue, but there was no answer. And nobody came. We could hardly breathe. We had no choice. We had to go out or we'll die. Shaked and Oz were killed in this attack. Nimrod Cohen and I were pulled out, half-conscious and wounded. We were quickly loaded onto pickup trucks and taken violently into Gaza, where we were separated. I was hurting and wanted to escape. I was tossed into a dark tunnel. I heard shouts in Arabic and was transferred from one tunnel to the other. It was dark, and every day seemed like an eternity. Explosions all over. I'm constantly hungry. I'm constantly thirsty. I want to see the sun. I want to speak. I want to stand. I miss my mom. I miss my dad. I miss my family. I miss my friends. I'm afraid I may die, but I hide it from the other guys surrounding me. I find myself trying to lift the others as I struggle to keep the hope that we will be released one day. I run in my head the events of October 7 time and again. I mourn the murder of my teammates. I wonder what happened to the other tank I sent north. What happened to the Golani team? To the other Golani lone soldier I had grown friendly with, Idan Alexander from Tenafly, New Jersey. 8 months. 8 months. Are they coming to rescue us? Did Israel survive? Are they looking for us? I can remember when I was in elementary school, we prayed daily for the release of another soldier, Gilad Shalit, until one day he was finally brought home. Are they praying for me now?
We all heard yesterday of the miraculous release of the 4 hostages, Noah, Almog, Andre, and Shlomi. Unfortunately, This amazing feat did not come without a price. And at the same time, we mourn the loss of Officer Arnon Zemora, who led this mission. We are at awe with the bravery of the many soldiers fighting this war, many of them brothers in arms to Omer. They share with us how they are all vying for the opportunity to be the releasers of the hostages. They are trained on the ethos of not leaving anyone behind. But we must also acknowledge that most of the remaining 120 hostages will not be released in a military operation, and the only way they can get home is through negotiating with the devil. Last week, President Biden delivered an update on his efforts to secure a deal that would lead to a durable end to the war. The deal on the table would release all the hostages, lead to an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, get more humanitarian assistance into Gaza, and ultimately end the crisis. The President has spent months of intensive diplomacy working this with Israel, Egypt, and Qatar. His message was clear. Hamas needs to take the deal that Israel has offered and is on the table. Here, on this side of the ocean, the Netanyahu deal, as we call it, should be supported by both sides of the aisle, as our hostage release effort should continue to be a full bipartisan effort. Mounting pressure should be placed on Hamas by all the mediators and countries with influence to make Hamas accept the deal.
By ending the war and releasing the hostages, Hezbollah in the north will also stop its ongoing attacks on Israel, and political solution should bring tens of thousands of Israeli refugees back to their homes. Israel's resilience cannot be measured only by the strength of its army, rather by the strength and resilience of its people. The events of October 7 greatly damaged Israel's sense of security and trust in the government and army as protectors of its citizens. Recent polls show that over 62% of the Israeli public believes that war must come to an end in return for a comprehensive hostage deal. The healing and restoration of this resilience must begin with the release and return of the hostages. Leaders must put political agendas aside and focus on the lives of the hostages as the most urgent matter at stake. The elimination of Hamas is important, but will take time and patience, and the leaders must focus on the urgent. As we all know, as successful as the operation yesterday was for some, we have also, as recent as last week, heard of 4 hostages that were murdered in captivity.
And from you, our audience and friends, today, we ask, speak up. Many Americans are not aware that 45 American citizens were murdered on October 7th. 12 were taken hostage, 8 are still in captivity, 3 of them deceased, and 5 who are considered alive, amongst them Omer, our son. The United States is not just a mediator in a hostage release deal. It was and is still targeted by Iran proxies daily. Our son Omer is a New Yorker and an IDF soldier and a hero. He did the right thing and was in the wrong place at the wrong time. This could have been any one of your children. Omer, this situation is not normal, and we refuse to get used to it. We know you are alive. We know you are strong. We are not losing faith. We believe in you, in Am Yisrael,
in our communities, and all the good people we learned to know during our fight for your release. They fight for you as you fought and are fighting for them. We will bring you home.
And I just want to mention a big thank you for the AJC organization. They've been an amazing partner for us and for all the other hostage families in our difficult journey. They held numerous meetings for us and helped us on the Hill, and will be forever grateful to the AJC. Thank you. Am Yisrael Chai.
Thank you very much.
Orna and Ronen, it's hard to find the right words. We are all standing with you and will not stop our efforts until Omer and all the hostages are home. Before we continue our program, we have spoken of yesterday's heroic operation that brought home 4 hostages. This was the 3rd successful operation of its kind. We cannot continue without taking a moment to celebrate this moment where once again we have found light amidst the darkness. May this be the reality for the Neutras and so many others as soon as possible. Please turn your attention to the screens.
שימו לב, קהל נכבד, אנחנו מצילי עיריית תל אביב-יפו שמחים ונרגשים לבשר לכם כי 4 חטופים חולצו בשלום ובחיים משבי החמאס בעזה. החטופים הם נוער זמרי, שלום זיק, אלמוג
אני כל כך מתרגש לשמוע את קולך, זה פשוט מעלה דמעות בעיניים.